Let's call meeting to order. Pledge allegiance, Councilmember Richardson.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilmember White, please remember to talk into your microphone.
I can walk anywhere in my room because of my head.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Larkey,
Here.
Councilmember White,
Here.
Councilmember Powell,
Here.
Councilmember Pryan,
Here.
Councilmember Kraft,
Here.
Councilmember Clark,
Here.
Councilmember Goff,
Present.
Councilmember Lawson,
Here.
Councilmember Richardson.
Here.
We have a quorum. At this time, I would like to take a few moments for a moment of silence for the National Fentanyl Awareness Day. Thank you. Personal appearances. A, proclamation, Public Works Week.
Shane Smith, you're out of uniform.
Looks good, don't he?
There he is. The Belton's new uniform.
Is it bowling night?
This is 2023 National Public Works Week. Whereas Public Works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the city of Belton, Missouri. And whereas these infrastructure facilities and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and the children in the city of Belton, Missouri to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2023 marks the 63rd Annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now, therefore, Norman K. Larkey, Sr., Mayor of the City of Belton, hereby proclaims the week of May 21st, 2023 as National Public Works Weeks in the City of Belton, Missouri. We urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make every day to protect our national health, safety, and quality of life. In witness whereof, Mayor Larkey has set his hand and caused the seal of the city to be affixed in the city of Belton, Missouri, this 9th day of May in the year of our Lord 2023. Congratulations. Thanks all you guys. Appreciate it.
I'd just like to say real quick to thank all these guys and everybody who works in Public Works for the hard work that they do. And I just ask you that when you go through their work zones, you see them out working, you just slow down and take it easy because they are working. They're just a few feet from you. And we just want to make sure they all go home safe just like they show up at work. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
Oh, hold on. We need a speech from Shane. We need a speech from you.
Thank you.
His new work uniform.
All right, the next proclamation, Public Service Recognition Week. Who's going up there with her?
2023 Public Service Recognition Week.
whereas the year 2023 marks the 38th annual Public Service Recognition Week, a week to give thanks to our public employees and inspire a new generation, and whereas millions of Americans are served each day by public employees at the federal, state, county, and city levels, these unsung heroes not only take jobs but oaths and do the work that keeps our nation running, and whereas many public employees, including military personnel, police officers, firefighters, healthcare professionals, and others, risk their lives each day in service to the people of the United States and around the world, and whereas day in and day out, public employees provide the diverse services demanded by the American people of their government with efficiency, integrity, and dedicated service, and whereas without public employees at every level, continuity would be impossible in a democracy that regularly changes its leaders and elected officials. Now, therefore, Norman K. Larkey, Sr., Mayor of the City of Belton, does hereby announce and proclaim the week of May 7th, 2023 as Public Service Recognition Week. We urge all citizens to recognize the substantial contributions public employees at every level make every day to protect our national health, safety, and quality of life. In witness whereof, Mayor Larkey has set his hand and caused the seal of the city to be affixed in the City of Belton, Missouri, this 9th day of May in the year of our Lord, 2023.
Thank all of you. All right, well, wait till you get back. No unfinished business today. New business. A, City Council Park Board Joint Discussion. City Manager.
Well, good evening, and thank you, everybody, for coming to this joint meeting. We'd like to start things off. I want to welcome our Park Board brethren for joining us here this evening. We would like for everybody to do a brief introduction, each of the council members, if you don't mind, and each of the Park Board members, because I know that most people know who everybody else is, but sometimes if you are focusing on your part of the organization, you're not necessarily focusing on the other parts, and so it just gives everybody a chance to see who everybody else is and put a name with a face and personalize this just a little bit, which is what the biggest purpose of this whole meeting is all about. So I'm going to start, Mr. Mayor.
Sure, Mayor Norman Larkey. Everybody knows me, so.
Everybody, huh?
Not everybody, but most everybody.
Dave Clark, City Council, Ward 1. And just for people over here, make sure you speak into your microphones because we're on TV so they can hear you.
Perry Goff, City Council, Ward 1.
Allison Lawson, City Council, Ward 3, and Parks Liaison.
Chris Richardson, City Council, Ward 3.
Rob Powell, Ward 4.
Brett White, Ward 4.
James Pryan, Ward 2.
Angela Kraft, Ward 2.
All right, we'll pass this around so we can get each of the Parks Board members. Brian, you want to start?
I'm Brian Wellborn, the Parks and Rec Director.
Terry Ward, Park Board President. Dave Daniels, Park Board.
Rusty Sullivan, Park Board.
Patty Ledford, Park Board.
Jennifer Garner, Park Board.
Mike Miller, Park Board.
Everybody knows him.
Yeah.
Zebediah Morlock, Park Board.
Adrian Hall, Park Board.
Perfect. I want to thank you guys for coming and joining us for this joint meeting. I'm going to start things off with a very short presentation about just kind of some of the commonalities that we have among us. For instance, how are we the same between the Park Board and the City Council? Well, we're all taxpayer funded. We're all here to serve the residents of Belton. We all are here by some call of duty. We're all here not just because of any other reason other than the fact that we want to serve our community, and we have this call of duty to make our community a better place. We all have basic core values, and if you look on your seat, there's a big list of City of Belton core values here. There's a couple of core values, including integrity and dedication to service. There's some operational values, and then there's some behavioral values. And the operational values are how you would like your organization to operate, and the behavioral values are how you would like your employees to behave themselves while working for the city. And I think that if you look through these values, they're pretty common, they're pretty shared, and I think that whether you work for the parks, and Recreation Department, or whether you work for the rest of the city of Belton, I think that you probably share these very same values. They're all pretty common sense, and they all reflect what I think everybody wants out of a high-performing organization. And we are all governed by Missouri state statutes and the city charter. So if you see all those things, you know, we have a lot more in common than we do not in common. I talked about the core values, operational values, and behavioral values. Just want to point out some of the benefits of working together, that we can ensure the efficiency in services and maximum impact for our taxpayer funds that we all receive. We can come to a better understanding of motivations and values for each of us individually and as a group. We can create a stronger sense of community, and we can increase the resident confidence in local government operations. Now, some of the goals of tonight's meeting, we wanted just to open up the lines of communication and ensure that we have continued improved communication as we move forward. We wanted to personalize each of us individually in each of our positions, and so when you're talking about a park board or the city council, now you got names, you've got faces, you've got actual people you're talking about, and so we think that when you personalize things like that, then you tend to focus more on the humanity aspect of it rather than well, they do this and we do that, or they're not doing this and we want them to do that. It's more of each of us have a role to play in this, and each of us are individuals, and now we know who each of us are. Consensus on issues, I think that's important that there are going to be a lot of issues that we have to address as a city, as a council, as a park board, on behalf of the residents, and so for us to come to consensus more often, that communication, that personalization is important, but just having these types of meetings and these types of activities will help us to come up with that consensus, and that's going to set the stage, because in the future we're going to have some major decisions to make as a city. The parks are going to have some major decisions to make. City council has major decisions to make, and that happens consistently, but you know, as we're trying to serve the people of the city of Belton, I know we've got a bond that we're about to pay off here pretty soon. There are going to be more ideas for what the parks want to do with it, what the people want, and so I think that the more we can all work together and have those conversations, then the better we're going to serve our people, our residents. So that's that. I'm going to pass it over to Brian, and he's going to talk a little bit about parks.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just want to start by thanking you all for receiving this idea. I think I originally talked to Councilwoman Lawson and Joe about this idea. This is something that was very successful in the previous city that I worked in 15 years, and it's just a great means of communication. I wanted to share something about this staff that I know you guys don't know, but I think you'll find pretty impressive. I've shared it with our park board, and then we shared it this past 2 Sundays ago at our appreciation dinner. Between 3 administrators and finance experience, we have 101 years experience between the 4 of us. Our wellness experience over 26 years. Recreation experience 10 years. Aquatics 21 years. Our custodial staff brings 14 years. Our maintenance staff brings 23 years. Our special events, she's new. She's been with us a little over a year. So in 17 full-time employees, City of Belton has, Parks and Rec has 196 years of full-time experience. And over half of those 17 have been here longer than 15 years. So that's very, very impressive, and it's almost unheard of, because people are always moving around in our business. They're trying to move up, and I think the council and the city should appreciate these employees when what they bring to the services that we provide. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share about a 3-minute video, and for most people, it's going to look like, you know, people think of Parks and Rec, they think fun and games, but one of the things I want to bring out in the video is that you're going to see camaraderie between the staff and between members at High Blue. You're going to see an indication that we've opened up our own TikTok app. And the reason that's important is we've made a huge commitment to keep up to date with modern day technology that brings convenience and services to the patrons that we serve. You're going to see staff on a new full line of strength equipment valued at $150,000. You'll see our logo for our new app, again, which is bringing convenient features to our members. We started a quarterly Rockstar Award and a Rockstar of the Year Award that recognizes excellence in the workplace. Aquatics division, we have a new logo and a new mascot. The reason why we thought that was important, you guys are aware of the situation we had last summer that resulted in the closure of our outdoor pool. And the reason is that the environment made it tough for those young kids, and so we thought it was important to give these young kids an identity with their own logo. And the mascot, I brought this to the staff, and the mascot idea has really taken off. So our idea with the mascot is that we can work with the school district this time of year and get into the classroom in front of the students and let them know the dangers of water. And so we launched a new website. You'll see several new special events, and then you'll see some indication of a Super Bowl Spirit Week that we did. You'll see photos of the staff a couple weeks ago. I know Joe and the city manager in Grandview worked up a project that we worked on 155th Street. The Parks Department was involved in that. And then for those of you who follow Cleveland Lake, about a year and a half ago, we tagged a bunch of fish to encourage participation out there. And we actually had our first tagged fish caught, and the gentleman redeemed it, and his choice was a free kayak. And then at the very end, you'll see some photos of the new memorial playground process, and we'll talk a little bit about projects. So I'm going to play this video real quick. next up, when Joe and I were coming up with the agenda for tonight, we thought it would be important for us to communicate to council and those at home who are watching some of our major projects. This isn't quite all of them, but these are some of our major ones. Memorial Park Playground, it's almost complete. I won't go through all of these. You guys can read those, and I'll flip through. We've got some, this is about a $206,000 project. Our Assistant Director, Vanda, wrote a grant, and we were fortunate enough to receive a $40,000 scrap tire award. The new surfacing is it's a ground-up rubber. It's about 8,200 square feet, basically shredded tires. And once this thing gets open, I would encourage you all to go over there and check it out. It's some of the newest product out there, and I'll go to some of the I took these this afternoon. Unfortunately, on the right, the big tall 18-foot pole, that's going to be a neck climber. When they went to tighten it a week ago, the product failed, and so we're waiting on a new one to be shipped. We may be able to get that in place on Friday, maybe not. So we're going to communicate to the public on our social media channels the status of the opening of that, but our goal is to try and get that open this weekend. There's a neck spinner on the left, and then the new teeter-totter. And then one thing I didn't put on there is all the sunshades are new as well. So the Markey Park Sunshade Project, it's going on. They should start going up with the structures tomorrow. It's about a $180,000 project, and it's going to be a nice shade is missing out there. And it gets hot on the weekends, as you all know. They've been out to the tournaments. And so these are very nice cantilever shades. And so just to kind of give you an idea of what the quality of shade structures that we're putting out there at Markey. So we're really excited about that. The walking trail renovate, about 3 years ago, we started a maintenance project on all of our trails. And so this year we're complete redo of the Somerset Trail, and then a large section of Cleveland. We'll get an overlay as well. The two slides and the slide tower inside High Blue are going to receive a new paint job. So there'll be some sandblasting and new gel coat applied to those slides. New flooring in the multi-A and B room. West Belton's going to get a tear out and a new basketball pad and goal placed in there, valued at about 20 grand. New maintenance vehicles. And then we did just purchase a concession stand trailer last week. The purpose of those is we're always trying to capture new revenues. And we have a lot of large events that we host. And so I thought it would be a good idea that we capture some of that revenue that we're charging very little for vendors to come in. So we're pretty excited about that project. Is there any questions from the council on any of these projects or anything you saw in the video? Okay.
Thank you, Brian, for the presentation.
You're welcome.
Well, I guess I do have a question for you out at some of our parks. I mean, you're talking about West Belton, and I know Councilwoman Lawson posted something a couple weeks ago about vandalism out at the new playground that you just showed pictures of. I mean, do we put cameras up over there to stop that? I mean, do we need better cameras that we can see who's actually doing the vandalism?
So we've invested a huge amount of time and resource, financial resources, IT's time. We have cameras all over our parks. We don't have every inch of them covered. The issue we have is once we catch them is trying to get the expenses recouped. We found that to be a huge challenge. For whatever reason, we annually, the same things happen to the same areas of the park. So West Belton has cameras. We captured them, and last time I heard, we were trying to work with the SRO officer to try to identify those minors. And it cost us a lot of money, and it cost the taxpayers a lot of money to recoup the damages. I was telling Councilwoman Lawson, she's learned a lot about parks and the exposure of parks and the trouble that we deal with. Just again this afternoon, we had a set of parents and siblings on that brand-new playground with construction fence around the whole entire thing. We do have cameras out there, but, we can't patrol this 24 hours a day. But to answer your question, we do have, I don't know, we probably got 30 to 40 cameras throughout our park system.
Well, I don't know if the pictures that she showed were from your cameras or somebody else's cameras, but I don't know if it's something you need better quality cameras or, I just trying to figure out how we can recoup and not always have to repair the stuff that you guys are putting out there. I mean, it frustrates me to see that happening.
I will say that it's not a Belton problem.
Oh, I know
It's
that.
a society issue that our friends to Lee Summit, who has one of the best park systems on this side of the state, they're a gold medal level park organization. They deal with it all the time. And it is frustrating our staff. They've put the same sink and toilets in that west bathroom. I know last time I talked, Kevin was thinking about changing those over to prison style to maybe cut down on some of that. But, I mean, for me, I would like to have nice stuff in there. But at some point.
Okay. Any other questions? Go ahead.
I just had an idea, similarly to how you kind of recounted how many years of service you have on staff in parks, would the park board members be willing to say, I've been on the park board or served for X number of years? Terry, you want to go first?
Sure. It's hard to remember how long it's been. Actually, I think I'm getting ready to start my 9th year, 3 terms, possibly. I've been park board president for the last 5 or 6.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm just finishing up my 6th year, so.
Thank you.
4 for me.
Okay. 1 for me. I think 5. Carry the 2 plus 7.
Not quite 100.
Not how old you are.
Probably, I was on once in the 90s and then probably 17, 19.
Wow.
I believe this is my 3rd year, and I'm at 3 years as well.
Thank you.
Mike. Yeah, you guys got to talk into mics when you talk. So you got to make sure you turn them on.
Oh, here for you folks watching at home, there was a
They
range
don't work?
of
Oh.
1 to 100 years. So, or realistically, we've got folks who've done this the better part of a decade or beyond. So all I would just acknowledge real quick is in this room right now, we've got some of the most passionate, hardworking advocates for our city, and I think maybe all of us at some times have felt like we were rowing against the current. But I think this is a good opportunity to check in and look for opportunities to row the same direction because that's going to have the biggest impact for our home. So thanks.
Mr. Mayor, one other item that I forgot, Joe and I put on here is in case you're wondering, and those at home, are some of our future plans. And we've got 2 debt service projects that are going to be paid off here in a couple of years. We're going to try and pay those off a little early. Internally, we know we desperately need a field house. Our membership continues to grow post-COVID. We need field house space. We're going to continue building trails. Cleveland Lake, we know needs restrooms and a parking lot. So those are some of the big things on our radar coming up in the next couple of years. I will say, Joe reached out and invited me to participate in the capital improvement plan that is coming up, and we're excited about that. We will be bringing some consulting firms on board with us to help with our park-specific stuff, and I think our goals is to make sure that our goals for this city comprehensive plan and what we're doing on our end mesh so that we can accomplish the same goals. And one other thing before I turn it over to Joe, because I know he's going to drive these last 2, I did want to let the council know, because I would not be surprised if you get phone calls on this. But this is regarding changes to our pool rules at the outdoor to try and avoid some of the situations. But the county has an ordinance that requires all outdoor pool patrons 14 years and older 13 years and younger to have an adult 16 years or older to be with them in order to enter the facility, and we have adopted that rule. So we are going to push these rules out on social media heavily so that there's not such a surprise at the door. Going back to our mascot, we're going to do some video and some social media, the postings with him. And then the other big one is we have established a no reentry policy for those single-day users. We have found a lot of our issues result when the kids leave the facility. They do their thing, typically fighting or vandalizing or littering or whatever it is that these kids do, and then they come back in. And typically when there's fights, their friends show up and then they come into the pool, and now we got problems inside. So those are the two major rule changes that you may or may not get calls on. But if you have any questions as to why we did that, I'd be happy to speak with you on that. But I think those are two very good rules that are important. And also we are going to have an adult presence out there as much as we can during our hours of operation.
Any questions?
Just like to make a comment. Over the last several years, way before I was up here, I have worked with Kevin's predecessor and Kevin, and with Terry's predecessor and and Terry and Brian and his predecessor, who's right here, and you've always been very amenable to responding to residents' concerns. And the particular example I'm thinking of is when the Historical Society put in extra monuments for the fallen veterans from Belton. It wasn't just a matter of rubber stamping or saying no or yes. It was working with us. So I really appreciate the professionalism the staff has. I would have said I've worked with Vanda and her predecessor, but Vanda's always been there, so I can't say her predecessor, just Vanda. But thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay, there's the next one on the agenda is future parks plans. The only thing I really have for this is I want to make sure everybody's aware on the park board especially, and then even council. We do have an agreement that we'll be bringing to the council for formal approval on May 30th to enlist the services of a consultant who's going to come in and do a market study on what areas might be lacking in terms of facilities for large-scale sports, whether it's ball fields, soccer fields, large volleyball courts, basketball courts, something along those lines. You see a lot of cities are doing, Parkville did the baseball fields. You'll see up in the Northland they had a bunch of fields that they're opening. You probably heard Lee Summit has plans to do some of their own in large mass, and even though we're pursuing this from initially because of the idea of sports tourism and what that can bring to our community, there's a very important local component with the Parks Board and local programming that can be intertwined with any type of facility that we would be bringing in, because what we would be ultimately trying to do is have a very good facility for our community that does both fill a local need and bring in some sports tourism in a grander fashion. I know Parks already does have some sports tourism that they drive through the ball fields, and that's welcome. We don't want to compete with that. We're hoping that we can expand on that. So there's that, and then we want to talk about that at all.
Yeah, might as well.
Okay. You guys have any comments on that?
No, I think that's, being on that tourism committee, I think it's going to be an excellent opportunity to try to grow the park in the city. So
cool.
It's on.
All right.
So anybody else? You guys got anything? You guys are quiet. All right, go.
Fair enough. The last thing I want to discuss that we have on the agenda is to discuss budgeting. I think there are a couple of issues and areas where we can make some improvements to our budgeting process that'll benefit everybody in this room. And the first one is all the Parks Board members and council members, you should have a copy of a resolution, a draft of a resolution that we will be bringing forward, most likely at the very next meeting on May 30th, which would allow us to essentially extend the deadline for final submission of the Parks Board budget to the City Council to March 1st. Which I know that currently you guys are submitting that, I believe, in December, and that kind of makes it very difficult for you guys to plan when you're trying to be 3 months ahead of when we're even having to approve the budget, and so we want to be more in sync. We want to be more responsive to the fact that you guys have you still have 3 more months of data to consider before you're finalizing that, and so that I just wanted to point that out. We will have that moving forward. And then also talk about COLA and employee raises. I know sometimes because of that timing, it's made it difficult for us to get in sync on what the city council is doing for the rest of the city staff, and then what Parks is doing for the park staff. And I know Brian and I are committed to working together to try and make sure that those can sync up in the future. I think that moving this timeline is going to be helpful with that. But and also the fact that we have this new budget finance committee that's the first meeting on that is going to be May 15th, and I know Brian's on that committee, and we have some council members on that committee as well. And so we're just hoping that we can sync that up, and that way in the future we don't have employees thinking, well, what about me? Why are we so different from them, and why are they different from us? And we can just kind of have those discussions well in advance, and then by the time the March 1st rolls around, we're all in sync, and we have the same numbers, and we're looking for the same raises for everybody, so there's no surprises and nothing unusual going on. So that's our hope. That's what we're going to work toward. Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
I just now seeing this, I would think we'd make it February 1. I mean, I think we waited too late to do the budget this year. And if we wait until March 1 to get their information, we got to put it into our documents. I mean, I think February 1 should be a better time frame than March 1.
We've already, Brian and I have discussed this. I anticipate having my city manager's recommended budget before this anyway, so we hope to have this ironed out before that. This is for the final approval of their final budget is what we're asking for, and so.
I mean, I like how we did our budget this year. I just wanted, I guess I'm old school. I mean, it's new. I just think we should have their budget by February 1, final budget. That way, we're talking about our final budget at the same time. I mean, it's 30 days, but it still gives them 60 days longer than what they currently have today. So we can, if everybody else wants a March 1, that's fine. But again, I think we did our budget way late this year, and I hope we don't do it again that way in the future.
I'd recommend that we consider this and we have the conversations.
And we're going to have that budget meeting. I think before we finalize this, I think we need to.
Yeah, we're not approving this tonight, so
No.
this is a draft resolution, so we can have more of that conversation and actually have that public debate if you decide if there.
I mean, I doubt that December 1 for us. I mean, we don't even start talking about their budget until February anyhow. So I don't know why they had to have it so early, but
sure.
But I think February 1 should be a good time frame to look at.
To your point, by February 1, I anticipate us having the 99.9% of everything worked out on both sides anyway, Councilman Clark.
Well, again, it's not about us. It's about the future and who's in charge and all that other stuff. So it's always making sure that you're taking and looking for the future and not just today.
Go ahead, Terry.
So this resolution, which is it going to be a yearly resolution then? Since it's changing the charter?
It's not amending the charter, it's clarifying what the charter says. Your charter requires that the proposed budget be submitted to the city 90 days prior to the beginning of the fiscal year. Proposed. So that is still required. A proposed budget still needs to be submitted, but the final approved park board budget does not need to be submitted at that time. And if this resolution is adopted, then the park board doesn't need to submit its final approved budget until March 1st.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Well, thank you. Thank you. Go ahead. Go ahead. Anybody, go ahead.
Attorney, you may tell me
Hold on, Mike.
You might have to get this other microphone. These ain't working too good out here.
Terry, I probably need your help here, but we did an economic impact, about 5, 6 years ago? And around the area, we brought in, Terry, was it 5.6 million in this area, just on tournaments, and that number can, go up higher. We got some projects, that we're going to talk about, and we can never have too many ball fields. And there's no such phrase as we need ball fields, and we can bring in a lot more tournaments. And Brian's idea of a building is fantastic. So I'm looking forward to seeing all this happen. Thanks.
Anybody else? Just grab the microphone.
We talk about that all the time. I mean, I've been on city council for 4 years, and I just know a couple of years ago, Jay had a big tournament out there at the golf course, and just, when I was out there talking to people that flew in from Oregon and Colorado and Indiana, and you're just kind of like, wow, but they came here for a golf tournament. And I know the girls softball complex, mostly girls softball out there, they have some big tournaments that teams are coming from all across the country, and we know how big of an impact that it brings into our community. So, I mean, we talk about it all the time, especially with economic development, kind of how do we bring that number to what it actually means to our community. So we do look at that stuff all the time, so.
I would just quickly add to disc golf. We have become a destination for disc golf tournaments as well. Some of that is park effort. Some of that is the disc golf store there on South Scott. Adrian Hall on the park board's real familiar. He's in that mix, so that's something unique and special to Belton that's growing in a positive way. And we're shouting out.
Thanks for bringing that up. Adrian, you probably would be if you Google disc golf in Kansas City, Belton's course comes up in one of the top 2 or 3. I mean, Adrian personally has spent hundreds, probably thousands of his own hours developing that course over the past 3 years. And if you don't know it, our course is a big deal, and it does. Joe, I don't know how much you've shared about this new cell phone technology and this marketing information that we're going to be able to capture the amount of people that come into the different aspects of Belton, and I'm pretty excited to look and see who's coming to, how many people are coming to Markey. And I think part of that product is it can actually tell us they're coming to Markey, but where are they going to eat? Where are they staying? I mean, it's pretty sharp stuff. I don't want to give away the cards if you haven't communicated a whole lot of that. But one thing I will say, you probably will notice that there is a little less traffic at Markey, is the tournament company is seeing a reduction of the amount of teams that are playing with them first and foremost. So if they've got less teams, they need less parks. The other thing is 20 years ago when Markey was built, the 5-wheel pinwheel setup was a modern day. That was the thing. Well, we don't have turf, and so a lot of these teams are now wanting to go to turf, and these tournament companies, where our focus is service and value of service. Their bottom line is the mighty dollar, and so if they don't have to fool with our fields drying out and not playing games, which is costing them money. The point is they've if you've got less teams, you need less facilities, and we have lost out to some of these turf facilities. And so one of the big decisions that we've got to make, and we've talked about, is whether or not we want to turf those fields. And for me, the thing that we have to consider is, do we want to burden our local taxpayer, because it's about $5 million, about $1 million, a little over $1 million a field to turf those. And so we were talking about Markey. I thought the good thing about having this type of setup is you guys are probably hearing things that we don't always converse about.
Do you turf the whole thing, or you just turf the infield?
Well, you can do both.
I see a lot of these facilities just have the infield turf. That way you can keep playing the outfield. They don't care if the outfielders get wet.
Yeah. interesting enough, if you talk to a lot of coaches, the majority of coaches are going to tell you they hate turf. The kids don't like turf. It's hot. Umpires hate it. They have blisters on their feet because of the heat. They tear up uniforms. So it's kind of a 50-50. But these tournament companies, they want to play. They won't have to worry about rain.
Oh, yeah, you don't have rainouts with turf, so.
Correct.
Anybody else? Again, thank you, and we'll do this again soon.
I just appreciate you guys coming to this, and I appreciate the council and the mayor for agreeing to this idea, and Brian for bringing it up, because I think this is just these types of conversations are going to help us moving forward. That if everybody can get in a room and everybody can get along and get toward a common goal, which we all have, is to provide the best for our community. That's what we're all here for. So, thank you all.
Thank
As,
you.
only thing I would say is everybody that serves on there, I mean, I just thank you for you guys for serving, volunteer position. You guys put your own hours into it, and, you know, we need people like you guys to always step in and do this kind of job, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Consent agenda, we don't have no consent agenda. Any communication from city council? Chris?
I know downtown Belton Main Street had our Cinco de Mayo event up here on Main Street last Friday, and it went really well. We had a lot more people than I thought we were going to have. So I think it went really good. A lot of fun.
I do not have a parks update.
Oh, well, maybe,
I
yeah.
think we're caught up.
You got anything?
Couple things. We got to play in a Belton Chamber Golf Tournament yesterday with Councilman Richardson and City Manager Joe Warren, and the guy whose back is hurt today is Jay Kennedy. He carried us a little bit.
They wouldn't let me play with them.
But we had a good time out at the Chamber Golf Tournament. It's always good to see a lot of the businesses in our community out there doing that. But the only thing I'm going to say here tonight is I'd be remiss to not thank Miss Carolyn Yatsik. I think this is her last meeting with us. So I always talk about Carolyn, person that started with the water department. I don't know how long you've been here, 15, 20 years? 20. So I see someone that started taking water bills, worked up in an administrative assistant role, and now is the economic development director. So it's sad to see someone like her taking off, but I want to congratulate her and thank her for being a Belton city employee for the last 20-some years. So good luck, and thank you.
I have nothing.
Brett, you got anything?
No.
Angela?
No.
James?
No thanks.
All right. I would just like to add on to what Chris said about the Cinco de Mayo festival. It was a pretty good festival. A lot of people. I was surprised that many people showed up in the golf tournament yesterday. They didn't let me play with them. I had to play with the school board. So, but it went well, other than being hot. So, and I would add what Councilman Clark says about Carolyn. I appreciate your service. Thank you, and good luck. I would also like to add the same comments to Jordan Lee. Her assistant is leaving the same time, so good luck to her as well. So that's all I have. City Manager?
I just want to preface this by promising that I did nothing to push Carolyn and Jordan out. At least I don't think I did. I'd certainly thank them for their service. The only thing I have to talk about is on June 3rd, Broken Hatchet is having their second anniversary party on Ella Street. Main Street will not be closed that day, but they do have a special event permit, and it's essentially going to be the same type of celebration that they had last year for their first anniversary. So invite the public and everybody out to that. I think Broken Hatchet's a very welcome member to our community and our Main Street especially. And then just a reminder that our next meeting is not going to be in 2 weeks. It'll be in 3 weeks on May 30th, since a couple of us will be out of town or trying to recruit more business to come to Belton.
Olive Garden, that's all they asked for.
I knew that was coming. Okay, anybody else? I'd entertain a motion to enter an executive session to discuss matters pertaining to legal actions according to Missouri State Statute 610.21.1 and to discuss matters pertaining to leasing, purchase, or sale of real estate according to Missouri State Statute 610.21.2 and that the record be closed and the meeting adjourned from there.
Present.
Second.
We have a
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Pryan,
Aye.
Kraft,
Aye.
Powell,
Yes.
White,
Aye.
Goff,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Lawson. Aye. Mayor Larkey,
Yes.
Richardson.
Aye.
Motion passes.